Well, we learned a couple things about Jose Altuve. Is he really playing left field? Well, it appears so. I mean, Astros went out and got a Gold Glove second baseman. Yeah, his numbers suck away from Coors Field, but it's more about just getting a couple more options. And when is Jose Altuve going to make his first appearance in the left field? We'll talk about this and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Yanier Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros. We hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talk Astros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Thank you for making us part of your daily routine, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead, subscribe to us. Make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go ahead and check us out. So a lot of people are talking about Jose Altuve. I know a lot of people are responding in the comments. No, this is a stupid idea. The Astros should not do this. Well, it looks like they're doing it, guys. They're going to put Altuve in the outfield. Jose looks like he's spending a majority of his time in the outfield. Joe Espada talked about this, and he even said today when he's likely going to see his first game action. Let's go and talk about that. So Espada did announce that Jose Altuve will make his appearance this spring training in the left field. No, it's not going to be Saturday, so don't expect Altuve to be in left field this Saturday. He needs a lot of work. He's got to work on where to throw the ball. He's got to work on scenarios, when to throw a cutoff guy, when to try to get the guy out at third base. There's a lot of different situations because this is the first time that Altuve has played the outfield in professional baseball. I'm sure he's done it maybe when he was younger in life, but this is Major League Baseball. So this is a big adjustment for him. So he's going to have to learn some stuff. So Espada said, I'm thinking another week. I want us to cover a lot more information, go over some stuff with him before we put him out there in a game. So we're not going to share which game I'm thinking about, but I want him to just feel comfortable and make sure we do cuts and relays, throw the bases. We got a lot of ground to cover before I give him those reps in the games. And he was asked, well, a lot of fans are complaining about his arm. And he said, well, Altuve has an arm. He can make the throws. He just hasn't had to. As a second baseman, you don't have to make those throws. He's been throwing the baseball for 13 years. And so he's been making some good throws. He's been making some good relays. He may not have the strongest arm, but he has a pretty accurate arm. And so Espada basically said he may surprise you out there. Now, of course, this is up to Jeremy Pena and, of course, Paredes to kind of help out, to lend a helping hand to make sure that he doesn't have to throw as far and be the cutoff guy. We work on that with the little leaguers all the way down to T-ball. So this is just something that these guys will have to be a little mindful for. And I was watching Jason Bristol. He put up some video, and you saw Paredes kind of go up the line a little bit and be the relay guy to be able to throw the ball in a little bit. So you may see situations like that, but I don't think Paredes is going to give up the position if there's a runner coming to the third base. And that's what they're going to be working on, is all these different scenarios. What happens if you have a runner at second and first base? What does Jose Altuve do if he catches a fly ball where he has to hit the wall in left field? Where does he throw the ball? Does he go to second base? Does he get the trailing runner? Does he try to get the lead runner? All these different scenarios. So that's what spring training is for. And so I think that this is awesome that he's making this move and that he's being a team player. Is it going to work in the long run? Who knows? But you see a Gold Glover going to Boston and Alex Bregman, and Devers is like, no, I'm a third baseman. And Bregman's like, I'll play second base. That's fine. I haven't played second base. I played shortstop, but I'll play second base. And even all the other players are like, Devers is our third baseman. He's our third baseman. So what Espada went on to say is, but I want to make sure that at least twice a week he'll go and take some ground balls at second base. And just because he's not on the schedule with the infielders doesn't mean that he won't be working on his infield. He was taking some ground balls today. He was catching some pop-ups. So he's going to be still getting some action on the infield. So it's not going to be all just outfield, but a more majority of the first 5 to 7 days of spring training will be learning how to play the outfield. Because if the Astros are really serious about this, he's got to not look like a fool out there. And Espada went on to say, we like some of the tools that these guys that we brought into camp. So we're just creating a nice little competition there to see who can get some repetitions. If Jose Altuve is playing left field, who could play second base. There's some bench roles here that are also up for grabs. So that's our goal behind all of this. So I don't know if at the end of the day, as Brett would say, if Altuve is really going to be the everyday left fielder. I know they want to get Alvarez. They don't want to play it a lot left field. He has a good arm. He's not the best defender out there. They want to save his knees, but Alvarez wants to get out there, play the field. But they're just trying to have options, and that's what all this is for. Last night, we did the emergency podcast with Brendan Rodgers being signed. Yes, I heard all the complaints. Well, he sucks away from Coors Field. Well, if you look at most major league hitters, when you go away from the home ballpark, most of them do suck away from their home ballpark. For some reason, they feel more comfortable where they call their home ballpark. And some players are road warriors. They do better on the road. So I'm not saying Brendan Rodgers is all of a sudden going to be the superstar for the Astros just because he was a first round draft pick right around where Bregman and Kyle Tucker were drafted. He's the same type player, but he's a complementary piece. He's somebody that the Astros can use as another, like he said, like Spider said, another player, another option. And Espada kind of addressed that without, because the deal is not official yet. So he can't say, oh, yeah, we like what Rodgers has to offer. But he said, we like the tools of the guys that are here. So I think what they like with Rodgers is not necessarily his offense, but his defense. And you have two ground ball pitchers. So by bringing in somebody like Rodgers, who has the potential to hit some ground balls, sorry, not hit some ground balls, but hit some home runs, he has some history of hitting with power. If he can do anything remotely good and play good for the Houston Astros, and he's a good defender, then that would be good. So one thing that we did not talk about yesterday was he was non-tendered by the Rockies. So he was projected to make between $5.5 million and $6.8 million with the Rockies. The Rockies were like, yeah, we don't think he's worth that much. So they went ahead and non-tendered him. Because they non-tendered him, they didn't have to pay him. And so that's a good thing about the non-tender thing. So we don't know anything about what Rodgers is going to be getting paid, but it's going to be a lot less than that $5.5 million. Now, if he makes the team out of spring training, maybe he gets something, maybe $1 million, $2 million. Who knows? Maybe there's some performance bonuses, but he chose the Astros for some reason. And if he doesn't make the team, then he'll probably go back to being free agent. I don't know if somebody like Rodgers is going to be interested in playing minor league baseball. So we'll have to see if there's any caveats once the deal becomes official. But guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. You know what, guys? I'm hungry. I wish I had a snack. Wow. What about wonderful pistachios? This is a great little snack, whether you're on the road trip, whether you're maybe at the batting cages or just at the ball field, just watching your favorite team like the Astros. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily values. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. So if you like the no shells variety, it's a perfect grab and go snack for busy days. I have to go to class in a second, so it's perfect for a road trip, like I said. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. So I know we've talked a lot about Jose Altuve for the past week, 2 weeks, or something, but one thing I know about Jose Altuve is he's out there having fun. If this was something that he was not interested in doing, he would not be doing it. The Astros, yeah, I maybe he's the face of the team. He's the face of the franchise. So maybe if he was against it, maybe the Astros would be like, you know what, let's not do it. But because he's open to it, he was open to it because he wanted to bring Bregman back. But at the same time, he's open to it in general. And a lot of people are like, well, you don't take your best second baseman out and put him in left field. I've even seen some comments where, well, Mauricio Dubon is a better left fielder than Altuve, and Altuve is a better second baseman than Dubon. But the fact that Altuve, he's diminishing as a second baseman. If you look at the past couple years, he had a minus 13 defensive runs saved in 23 and in 23 and 24, and then in 22 he was a minus 15. So in the past 3 years he's been in negative. If you look at what he did in 2015 when he won the Gold Glove, he was a +6. It's just he's not as good as he used to be. I'm not saying he's going downhill as a player, but defensively at second base, he's never really had the range. But for right now, he's not the tallest guy. And so I know somebody was joking, came in my classroom today. It was like, well, how many home runs is Altuve going to rob? And I'm like, well, he's probably not going to rob a lot of home runs. That's just not the player he is. But he's going to go out there and he's going to give it all he can. That's what he's done his entire career. And we've had Carlos Lee out in left field. We've had some left fielders who are not the best defenders. And Alvarez, he has a good arm, but he's not the best defender out there. So I think that if Altuve can make this transition, this opened us up the door for Bryce Matthews down the road. I don't think Bryce Matthews is ready, but this is just another way to get another person in. So I know that a lot of people miss Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman is now with the Red Sox, so they're having their own little drama over there. You have Altuve making that transition, but right now you have Paredes. Paredes is over here, and Espada is basically saying, look, we're not having you come over to replace Alex Bregman. We want you to be you. We want you to be the same player that you were with the Rays, maybe not so much with the Cubs. I'm pretty sure he didn't say that. But we know that Paredes was a +5 runs saved at third base in 2022. And in 2023, he was a +2 runs. He did dip to a -2 runs last season, which was 22nd among the third basemen with 5 innings plus innings, but 500 plus innings. But I think a lot of that has to do with the switch to the Cubs, going away from the Rays, going to the Cubs. He did struggle last year with the Cubs offensively. And so typically when you struggle offensively, you tend to struggle defensively. So Espada said he has a very average defender at third base, very reliable hands, strong arm, accurate. I think we have identified areas that we can help him with. and he's been very receptive to those areas, and we think we can help him improve. So we know that, like I mentioned earlier, you have Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown. They're very big ground ball pitchers if they're not striking out people. So this is a third base is going to be a very big spot. He can't go out there and replace Alex Bregman, who just won a Gold Glove last year. But he's just got to go out there and do the best he can. Hayden Wesneski, he's also a pretty good. He's also played with Paredes, but he's also a guy that gets some ground balls. But Paredes also hit 31 home runs in 2023. So he had 127 OPS prior to the trade last year. This guy is a good offensive player. He may not be the best. He's an average defender, but I think he's going to be fine. He just doesn't have to be like, oh, I need to go ahead and just become a Gold Glover. He just needs to go out there. And one thing he needs to try to do is knock the ball down. If Altuve is playing the outfield, he needs to make sure as many balls don't get to the corner, because the last thing the Astros want is the balls to go to corner, and Altuve has to dig it out of the corner and make a big throw to maybe base, second base, wherever it is. So Brady said, I think Astros left field is going to be more convenient for me. Of course, he means the Crawford boxes. I'm going to just keep on doing my game, which is pulling the ball, and I'm going to pull the ball as much as I can. Speaking of pulling the ball, Brendan Rodgers is a 30% pull hitter, so he's going to fit really good at Dyken Park. Like I said, I don't think he's going to become a superstar all of a sudden, but if he just becomes a good secondary player to complement, just give another option, I think this would be a good scenario. So Paredes is, he said, I don't feel any pressure. My respect goes to Alex Bregman. He's a great ball player. He had a great career, but there's no added pressure. I'm just ready to replace him at third base and just do the best for my team. And as a player replacing somebody like Bregman, that's all you can say. Getting back to Brendan Rodgers, like we're waiting for the official signing. So right now, we do know that he had surgery, or he had an injury back in 2023. That's why his numbers were so low. Last year, he batted 267 with 13 home runs, 29 doubles, 54 RBIs. He had a 721 OPS and a 1 WAR. I know that doesn't knock you off your feet, but it's just another option. And like I said, this is just somebody to maybe go in and compete with Doobie to maybe be at the second baseman. Another option, Shea Whitcomb is probably going to be competing to play second base as well. And somewhere down the road, Bryce Matthews is also going to be somebody that they're going to be looking at second base. So now they're not moving Jose Altuve away from second base because there's somebody else ready. They're just moving Altuve to left field as a option, just in case, just to offer some more flexibility, because the infield is loaded and they don't have enough outfielders. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And speaking of Dubon, I believe, if I read it correctly, he has been nominated as the new clubhouse DJ. And so he'll be spinning the beats, or I don't know how the young kids say it, but he's going to be the DJ and in control of the music. We know that in past it's been George Springer, and recently it's been Kyle Tucker. So now it's going to be Dubon who's going to be the clubhouse DJ. So guys, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Hey guys, let's talk a second about FanDuel. I know the season's about to start. We're all excited about baseball, but don't forget about NBA. NBA action is going on. There's no better place to get in than FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or the first pitch, or if you want to bet in the 8th inning or a fourth quarter comeback, you can always stay in action. Or if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your bets in the same game parlay. I love using FanDuel because it gives you all the numbers right there, right on the app. You can, especially once the season comes, you can see the over-unders. You can see how many projected home runs a player is going to hit. And plus, the app is so easy to use. Like, you can win instantly and get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Well, they say teamwork makes the dream work. That's right. I'm here. Eric, thank you for taking the first half of the episode as I'm taking the second half. This is kind of fun doing this. Eric gave his thoughts on Jose Altuve and how he will play in his first game in left field, but not for about a week. And Isaac Paredes, look, a great article from Chandler Rome today in The Athletic. You've got to go read it. If you're not a subscriber, I would highly recommend you do that. He is one of our go-to sources for all things Houston Astros, obviously the beat writer on the national level. He has really come into his own since being with the Houston Chronicle. But let's get into this. You know, a couple things I want to mention about Isaac Paredes, and something I didn't realize until today, and Eric may have touched on this, is that he has been the victim, and yes, I use the word victim, of strikes called out of the strike zone. 89 pitches last year, most of any pitcher outside of baseball. What does that mean for a baseball player? What does that mean for Isaac Paredes and the Houston Astros? Well, they can now look back and go, okay, well, this guy gets called strikes on him that aren't strikes more than anybody else. And so we know he's got a very good slugging percentage, on base percentage is up there. And so they're hoping the tide turns, and they hope that tide turns when we get to the OBS system where the automatic balls and strikes comes in, and where the strike zone is more strict and more definitive. It's more absolute. Those calls won't be made. Pitchers will be victimized, I guess, for that because they get the benefit of the doubt. But it looks like Isaac Paredes definitely has had a negative residual effect and to his batting. But, he thinks that this strike zone, the automatic strike zone, is going to be good for hitters, especially for someone like him. But the person I really want to talk about while I'm here with you guys is I'll get to, I'll hit on Brendan and then Brendan Rodgers, and then I'll move on to Diaz. Brendan Rodgers, this guy really sports two different stat lines, which may be troublesome offensively. In Coors Field, he's one player. Away, he's a whole nother player. He bats in the 300s at Coors Field. He bats in the 220s away from home. But over his career, 266, 316, 409 stat line, 45 homers, 197 RBIs, and 452 career games. Okay. He played exclusively at second base in the past 3 seasons, though he has 36 games logged in his career at shortstop in addition to 411 games at second base. This guy is a depth piece. Does he make it out of spring training to the big league club? I think he does. Is it a for sure deal? I don't know. I don't know what kind of percentage I would put on it. I don't know if it's a 70-30, 80-20, 50-50 type thing. But if they're looking to solidify second base because they are so hell-bent on Jose Altuve not being a second baseman because his skills are declined. And look, I want to say something about this for a second. I don't really get it. I guess I do, but I don't. Has he just been that bad of a second baseman and we haven't seen it because he's the GOAT, because he's Jose Altuve, because we have, Astros colored glasses? I know you can go look at a stat book, but has he cost us a ton of games? Maybe a couple games? I don't know. But it just seems like this conversation kind of came out of nowhere. And now all of a sudden, everybody's a Jose Altuve savant. Oh, yeah, I knew his skills were declining. I could have told you that 2 years ago. Okay, well, nobody was talking about it, which is weird. Like, why are we all of a sudden talking about Jose Altuve's declining skill set? And if he doesn't have a good enough arm, I've heard, well, he can't throw the ball from second to first. Okay, well, then how in the hell is he going to throw the ball from left field? Like, how the heck is he going to get the ball in? How far out on the grass does Jerry Payne have to be for, to be his cutoff man? So, I digress. But and the reason why I mention that is just because I've been wanting to say that. And I think there's a lot of people saying, I had a couple people text me today saying, what is the deal with everybody being so upset about Jose Altuve's defense at second base? I'm like, look, I don't know. I do know that when you look at paper and you look at it objectively, okay, from the statistical standpoint, yes, his defensive numbers have gone down. But everybody acts like everybody acts like he's the Rafael Devers of second base. No pun intended, okay? He's not, whatever. Anyways, I digress because I'm basically arguing with myself right now. But with Brendan Rodgers, I think you can bring him in and he can solidify a platoon scenario where you can keep Altuve feeling at home at second base, but also put him in the outfield. Rodgers is more of a bench guy, I think, than a starter. I don't think Rodgers is your answer to replacing Altuve. Could we see someone like Nolan Arenado come in, Isaac Paredes move to second, Jose Altuve be more of a left fielder, and Brendan Rodgers really solidifies that bench role? I mean, I don't know. But is he a better hitting option in the lineup than Mauricio Dubon? There is some argument for that, but I still haven't seen a massive sample size of him away from Coors Field other than what he's given us. So I don't know that his bat plays, but if the Astros feel in spring training that his bat plays, that his glove is definitely there, that he could be a guy that can help out the club, he'll make this squad. I think there's about a 70% chance that he makes the squad and a 30% chance he doesn't. Now let's reevaluate that in a couple weeks. All right. Yanier Diaz and DJ Doobie. You know what? Apparently Dubon is the DJ in the clubhouse. Say what you want. Look, I don't care who's spinning tunes as long as they're spinning, just as long as they're tipping on 4/4s and, all that stuff. So maybe get Paul Wall, Bun B, and some other guys to vote on who the DJ should be. Maybe they should do some tryouts. See who has a turntable. Maybe he has 2 turntables and a microphone. Where are they at? Sorry, I quoting some old music there. I digress. This is really pathetic. Wow, this is tough to do. This is different. This is definitely different. So, but this was Eric's brainchild. He had to get to class while we were doing an early recording. So I was like, you know what, dude, I'll step in and I'll grab this. Now, Yanier Diaz. Here's the deal with Yanier Diaz. Yanier Diaz had a -7 catcher framing runs, which became a problem. Okay. And according to their coach, Coach Collins, he said some of the club's internal metrics showed that Diaz actually made drastic improvements late in the season after struggling with framing. Now, Diaz is aware, and if you look at the chart, there's actually on Baseball Savant that will have pitch framing charts. They have different quadrants, and they have the box inside, which is quadrant 1 through 9. And then on the outside, they have 11 and 12, 13 and 14. Diaz frames phenomenally in the upper portions of the strike zone. The only pitching staff that had a better rate was the San Francisco Giants, and Diaz just did phenomenal there. But when it went to the lower quadrant or the lower half in what they call quadrant 13 and 14 in the bottom outside of the zone, he struggled mightily. And Diaz recently admitted that. I know I didn't get the specific from him when I interviewed him, but he said he'd been working on his weaknesses. And this is what he said to Chandler Rome. The high pitch has always been a pitch I can handle better. In the offseason and now in spring training, that's been my main focus, working on the low pitch so I can get as good as I can. It's just work that I have to do. It's not impossible. I can do it. Collins, Astros coach, says guys are going to have a heightened focus to block and a heightened focus to throw in throwing situations. We still want to present a good target for our pitcher, obviously. But once he's targeted and starts a delivery, if there's no framing at all, then that part goes away. So Diaz graded out as an either average or above average in almost every other defensive metric. But his 5 blocks above average, his 1.97 second average pop time, or 22.9% caught stealing rate, Houston definitely would benefit from the robo-umps. If the robo-umps come in, it helps them. Collins even said, I love the idea of the challenge system. There's still a human element. It still puts an importance on receiving the ball, because any of those close pitches, you want to still get that called strike and force the other team to use their challenge, or depending on the situation, not use their challenge and put us in a better count. I think Yanier Diaz is going to see a much improved defensive season. He has put the work in. I was confident when I met with him at TriStar, and we reconnected and talked about what he's got going on, and he's super excited. But framing is going to be a huge focus for this season for Yanier Diaz. I thank y'all for tuning in to Locked On Astros. This has been a great, fun tag team edition. That's how we do it. We do the teamwork because it makes the dream work, right? Wow. That was a rough ending, but I'm Sean Wellhouse. Thank y'all for tuning in. And remember, we're your team every day. Go Stros.